that in all civil and criminal matters by Article 140, the High Court, as a superior court, has jurisdiction unless a specific law has taken that jurisdiction away. We are saying that in this case, there is no law that takes away that general jurisdiction of the court relative to orders for mistrial and inquiry. Because you see, the court is there to do justice, and the court has a responsibility to ensure that its processes are not abused. So the judge says, I don't know of any known law or practice that confers jurisdiction on me, and proceeds to make arguments. Where did the judge get those arguments from? When you did not allow the lawyers to move the application, you did not allow the lawyers to even argue on whether or not they think that the High Court in Ghana has jurisdiction to make such orders. The judge also says that the Attorney General never told Mr. Japa to help him, and that on the tape, the Attorney General said he didn't need his help. Now, these are matters of fact that we think the trial judge got wrong. The judge was terribly wrong on them. And anybody can go and listen to this. That if you agree to this deal, that is on the tape, you will create any difficulty for Mr. Japa. He says that about 3 times on the tape. You will also hear Mr. Dame saying that if you agree to this, what were they talking about there? They were talking about letters of credit, which is the main issue at stake in this trial. And the entire case of the Attorney General was built on those responses he was soliciting from Mr. Japa. Very material to the issues for determination in court. And it is clear on the tape that Mr. Dame was seeking the help of Mr. Japa. Either than that, why did Mr. Dame call Japa in the first place? If he didn't need his help, he called him to give him lunch or dinner or breakfast. Or he called him to do what? He called him for a purpose. Aside that, the trial judge also makes statements about, let me just refer to some of the notes I made, that the Attorney General did not utter certain words, okay? Words that Mr. Japa uttered on the tape, that you have been meeting me in my cousin's house and you've been telling me to testify in this particular way, and if I do that, I will be dishonest and I'll be helping you to jail an innocent man. I'm paraphrasing, right? And the trial judge says those were words uttered by Mr. Japa. But the trial judge forgets that that was a conversation. When Mr. Japa said that, did the Attorney General say, it is not true? I have never told you that. I have never met you in your cousin's house. I have never impressed on you to do the things you are saying. No. On the tape, the Attorney General is quiet. And you realize that at some point, the Attorney General even says that we are talking on phone and I don't know who is recording. If the things Mr. Japa was saying were false, why didn't the Attorney General say so on the tape? These are serious issues of professional and prosecutorial misconduct, and that the appropriate forum can deal with that. We have taken a cue from that. And we know that the appropriate forum is not only the GLC. The GLC is one. We shall trigger that process at the right time. But we also know of Article 218 and the powers of Shraj. We know that the powers of Parliament under their powers to censure a minister, and we are going to be triggering all these things. There is no way that this dishonorable, crooked character called Godfrey Dame will get away with these unprofessional conducts.
And deception of the public. They were seeking to mislead and deceive the public. Today they've been exposed. That is what I see. I leave the rest to my friends.
So now that advice of the court dismissed, all the applications have been dismissed. Yes. How do you see this case going forward?
Well, today, when I was coming, I had a song in my spirit. Head of the church, triumphant. You know that song?
I don't.
Please. We joyfully adore thee. And then it goes on. We joyfully adore thee. And I said to you that they will lay traps, but all the traps are flee from them. Indeed, only righteousness will prevail.
The Electoral Commission have reported the disappearance of some biometric voter registration kits, the BVR kits, with some political stakeholders becoming suspicious and accusing the Electoral Commission of staging those thefts under the instructions of people in high places to execute a special assignment in line with the 2024 alleged rigging agenda. The questions for the urgent attention of the issue are indicated below. One, is the EC hiding something from the public? For which reasons they are resisting political parties not to record serial numbers of the BVR kits? Did the commission allegedly stage the stealing of
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered.
Waiting for the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. We are live from the Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah studios, where we are bringing you to today's edition too. Thank you very much for choosing us. We also live on Radio Gold, many other affiliate radio stations across the country. But also on social media, you can find us on two platforms: Facebook, Pan-African Television; YouTube, the same, Pan-African Television. You get to watch us live. When you're watching us on both platforms, do share your comments, and we'll share it with the rest of the world, everybody that's watching us around the globe. Now, this morning, first discussion. In fact, there are many issues that we are looking at, 3 in all. Last week, if you recall, the major issue that we discussed had to do with AG Godfrey Dami and the leak tape that was put out. We'll come to that. But before that, the Vice President, Dr. Baumia, we thought it was a matter that had been long forgotten. Do you recall the National Cathedral? Well, he says he'll continue it. He has a new plan for it. He'll do the same thing that they promised to do, but ending up spending Ghana's money. They work with private people, work with church to build the National Cathedral. Is it to the transfer of votes? Unfortunately, I think we have to move that forward because there's an issue that's connected to it. And then we'll go back to the matter of the leak tape, the tape that was put out by the National Democratic Congress. Because this week, just about 2 days ago, the court gave a decision, the High Court gave a decision on 5 different applications filed by Dr. Kesela Toforsen and then also Mr. Richard Jakpa. The court essentially says, this is new to us. We don't think we have jurisdiction to handle it. But, AG, my advice of Palestine, you don't hear much about it again. Anyway, we'll talk about this shortly. And also, we're also joined by Honorable Delasoa, who is Member of Parliament for Pando. Wonderful to see her today. And then a lawyer, of course, Andrew Apia Dankwa, who is a member of the Movement for Change. Sitting to my right is Director of International Relations of the National Democratic Congress, Mr. Alex Segbefia. So that's our panel for today. And we'll be discussing these issues. But before that, we have to comment on one issue. 2 issues, actually, before we move on to brief comments, before we move on to the major discussions. First one is, if you go on Facebook right now and you see every sympathizer of the National Democratic Congress, what's trending is hashtag free Nakoyo now. In fact, they started somewhere last Sunday. This is the Ghana Police Service issuing a statement 5 days ago on their Facebook page. It says, police arrest 3 persons for possession of firearm at Ofako near Kaswa. And it says, the Ghana Police Service has today, Sunday, 2nd June 2024, arrested 3 persons at Ofako near Kaswa in the central region for possession of firearm without lawful authority. The suspect Felix Nakoyo Okuno, Mustafa Mohammed, and Abdulaziz Musa on board a Honda CRV sport utility vehicle with registration number GX204419 were arrested around the EC office at Ofako. 1 pump action gun with 4 rounds of ammunition were retrieved from the police. The suspects are currently assisting police investigation. Well, subsequently, they were released on bail. Yesterday, Felix Nakoyo Okuno, who is actually the parliamentary candidate of the NDC in Ewutu Senya East, was picked up by the CID, subsequently transferred the cantonment police station. She's still there. She's still being held. Now, the most recent update I've seen is by Dr. Edward Omani-Boama, who says that they are still waiting for the investigator in the case to come before even the lawyer for Phyllis Nakoyo Okuno sees her. The lawyer is Victor Kojoga Adaudu. But Sami Jemfi, who is National Communications Officer of the NDC, says all this is about the fact that they said, if you look at the license for the gun, the name there does not match the name of Phyllis. That the Phyllis is missing one L, and the Koyo is also missing one O. That's why. So it means that she lied when she says that she's the owner of the gun. So that is why she's essentially being held. That's what I've been sent by Sami Jemfi. That's the explanation they've given them as to the reason she's being held. Well, I'll take brief comments on her detention, especially as it's connected to the transfer of votes.
You're also part of this.
No, we'll come to that later. Yes.
First of all, good morning to your good self and to my co-panelists, and also to our cherished viewers and listeners. I'm worried for Ghana. We are moving in a direction which those of us who are old enough will tell you that it's the signs. A female parliamentary candidate. We are setting precedents. We are setting precedents as we go along, and they are not good. What has she done? And what happened to Hawa Kumsin, same constituency, who actually fired the weapon? So there's a scuffle between people, and her son has been stabbed. So at all costs, now they must find a scapegoat to carry. And it must be an NDC person of high value. So you've handed her with a weapon. And the weapon, she's entitled to have it. It's legal. So why is it that you have detained her? And where is she going? There are grounds for not granting bail, failing to appear, commission of further offenses, interference with witnesses or otherwise obstructing the cause of justice, self-protection.
Your votes in that incident. So well, whatever comment you pass now would also affect the transfer of votes issue.
You see, yeah, the whole handling of the transfer of votes issue, I'm perplexed. Actually, registering new people is a simpler process than transfer of votes, in my humble opinion. Because you start from the premise that this person is not already on the register. So if you have somebody on the register, huge numbers, who want to transfer, the immediate question that comes to mind is, why? Because people might, in my stronghold, if I lose votes, nothing happens to the fact I'm going to win. So I carry people from my stronghold to where I have a problem. If it is their stronghold, I'm going to lose anyway. So I'll carry the ones that were even going to vote for me and send. It works both ways. So you never see the large numbers in swing constituencies. They keep their people and hope to add or ask them. But you never see people moving in large numbers from swing constituencies, struggles, or places where constituencies where they believe they are good, or for that matter, not very good. So when people have done their homework and statistics, it becomes clear that all political parties will be looking to see who is transferring from where. And you already have enough biases. Why are you now adding to this one? You already have enough. And we also, you see, everything they do, look, they say, coming events cast their shadows. You have a situation. And people, when they started appointing these new EC officials, or should I say the deputies, we started saying, hey, if you put blatantly, clearly partisan people in that position, Every step you take, somebody is being done. And people are coming out. You saw how the leadership of the party have turned up at Cantonment's police station for answers. Because if they do it to the PC and you keep quiet, they will now go for our MPs. They have even started on Atufosin and others. Collins Dauda. So now we will not leave it. If it is right, we'll sit in our corner. But if the thing is not right, we'll speak and let, because that's the only weapon we really have. Coming to the public, telling them that this is the scenario. But the more people get exposed, the more the whole country is open to different alternatives. And we don't need that coming up to an election. The future is pregnant. We must be very careful. This is 6 months to an election. If we don't deal with these issues in the right manner, we are going to have a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you just join us, so we are discussing the transfer of votes and related issues. So one of the issues is what happened, is what I said is trending on Facebook this morning, hashtag free now, call your now, because then DC parliamentary candidate for Usenya East, remember how our constituency, is being held at the Cantonment Police Station. And in case you're just joining us, it is because they say the name, the spelling he gave to them when she was writing her caution statement claiming ownership to the gun. And when they go and trace the documents, they realize that there's one O missing somewhere, there's one L missing somewhere. Lawyer.
Good morning. Good morning to your lovely viewers. Always a pleasure to be in the company of Masini Akra, Alex Bifia, Honorable. Good morning, and Mr. Pratt. My view, I think I've said it on some platforms, because I've never said it here. That for me, he's the most consistent politician I've ever come across, and that's why I hold such a huge respect for him, because what we are missing in this country right now, people who value conviction, value principle, and if we had that, I think that's the biggest problem we are having in our country. Because you take this issue that you have tabled this morning, and I know the easiest thing for me to say is to talk about just a mere transfer, but for me it is a symptom of a fundamental lack of leadership that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa has given us. You see, when we voted for him in 2016, he became president in 2017, he had a clear terms of reference. I think that terms of reference can be seen in the content of the oath he took. So when he took the oath, he swore to two things. The first part of what he swore to contained three things. That one, he was swearing by God himself. So the cathedral wasn't the only thing he promised God. That was the only thing he promised God. He also promised God that solemnly, I remember that day he was in his kente, he was holding and he said he was going to protect or stay true or do right by Ghana itself. One, that he was going to protect, he was going to defend at all times the Constitution of Ghana. And three, that he was going to dedicate himself to the well-being of the ordinary people of this country, to all Ghanaians. That he was going to be fair and true to all manner of people, irrespective of their tribes, their religion, their political affiliations. And the second oath was that he was going to, where he fails to fulfill those terms of reference, he was ready and willing to submit himself to any law for failing. So for me, I'm going to analyze this transfer issue. I'm going to analyze what is happening to the parliamentary candidate in the light of his terms of reference. And I beg to differ when you said the NDC people are speaking. I think this problem isn't a partisan one. All Ghanaians must speak. All of us. I'm not NDC, but I'm speaking. I'm not speaking because I have any political ambition. I'm speaking. Yeah, but we must speak because if even a parliamentary candidate of one of the largest political parties in this country has been picked up, who am I, or whom am I? Whom am I? A mere mortal, a mere Ghanaian. Should I go and say something contrary to what His Excellency, or he wants us to call him His Majesty? I don't know what he wants, whether His Excellency or His Majesty. Then, so it is the duty of every single Ghanaian to speak and defend and protect this country. So you take the oath he took. An issue as simple as a mere transfer. So I didn't go to transfer. But because of the lack of regard for the oath he took to do right by Ghana, because if he had regard for that, then he will understand that implicit in his obligation, in his duty, or in his privilege to appoint who becomes issue of this country, he will realize that implicit in that obligation was a duty to have regard to the partisan, or not to appoint people who have partisan consideration. Because you are supposed to appoint people into a position where we demand neutrality. The demand is for neutrality. So if you have regard to the terms of your reference, or to the oath you took to God and to the people of Ghana, then you understand that there was an obligation, an implied obligation on you, not to appoint into that office people who have partisan coloring. But our president lacks basic integrity. And we shouldn't be afraid to say it. He lacks basic integrity. He lacks commitment to the well-being of this country. He lacks commitment to the preservation, because the fundamental problem the EC is having, and we are seeing that in all the issues that's popping up in this simple matter of transfer, the issue of a lack of credibility, because the people of this country simply do not trust the partiality, the impartiality. Thank you very much. The impartiality of our EC, and so the president, by the appointments he made, has made it impossible for the EC to fulfill its obligation. And what's the obligation on the EC? The obligation on the EC is not only to deliver an election, because you see, the EC could be making genuine mistakes. But are you going to believe that those mistakes are genuine? No, we especially when in the last election she was making mistakes even with calculations. Imagine if she makes those same mistakes, and she can make those because this is an issue that has a propensity for making very basic mistakes. When she makes those same mistakes, especially with numbers. Are we going to accept them? Are we going to believe that indeed they were genuine mistakes? So if you have any regard to the first bit of your oath, why would you put us into such a situation of the constitution of this country to unravel it? What's his name? Anas Principal didn't help us to he himself, you understand, had the confidence, in fact, had the audacity to tell Ghanaians, and the fact that he can have that confidence to say this is evidence of the massive drop-off for value, for principle. Because if one of the core institutions created under our constitution to help us fulfill the object of the constitution, to protect in protecting our lives and our liberties, that's the police. You say that you are going to subject appointment into these forces, not on the basis of merit, but on partisan consideration. So you give 276 MPP parliamentary candidates 30 slots, because when present yourself, then it's your duty to sack him. But the president sat down and allowed the minister to say that, because he supports that activity. It is this dirty act of turning our security agencies into partisan havens that's causing this unfortunate, this fundamental breach of the parliamentary candidate's fundamental rights, a right to her liberties. Come on, how many times have they not spelled my name, Madam Kwaki, instead of Kyo? How many times some people actually, ones I don't like in this work is to be called Andrews. People call me Andrews with that. Offenses are available also. All offenses are available. That's why it took us to education as to the circumstances under which, and especially when a court of competent jurisdiction has heard her as in the charges and granted a bail. I can bet you this partisan police are continuing to orders from above. Because when Hobson was arrested, and when they kept him inside, they detained him without having preferred charges against him. When we questioned them, they said it is orders from above. So I don't know if the above is from heaven. I think the above can be from heaven because God Christ is not happy with this man. And he just swears and he doesn't follow. He's not amused with him at all. So I wonder what wrong we did for God to allow, because nothing will happen if God does not permit it. I don't know what's wrong. God, if you have done any wrong, forgive us. We beg you. Because this is too much. I can't remember, let's say, the early 80s. But I remember the struggles, the pain. Uncle Chris himself is there. He can't. The pains the people of Ghana went through to secure for ourselves this constitutional democracy. See, people don't have money. A lot of people in this country are not rich. But at least we are free. You just sit down and allow somebody who has no regard for his democracy we have. And that's what I'm saying. It's not just the duty of the minority. You understand? It's not just the duty of the NDC. You understand? To oppose the evil that is being meted out to us, toward this country. Because what is at stake is the very democracy we have. That's what is at stake now. Because immediately you give a leadership. That first of all, so as I was on the couch, as we were discussing why there's no euphoria surround us and going to the 2024. It's because people have lost confidence in the ability of this democracy we took upon ourselves to deliver on its promises. So right now the economy has no credibility. You are killing the credibility of the EC. You are undermining the ability of our constitution to protect our liberties. You understand? Yes, it's not enough that you deceive. You are deceiving us. Yes, you've deceived us. And then, beyond that, you tell us that you have one last job to do. Tell us, you have the confidence to tell us that you have one last job to do. That you, the economy, you've messed it up and you can't do anything about it. You understand, right? The city is running faster than Usain Bolt. By 9:30, the court is empty. Because when people don't have money, they don't litigate to. You've destroyed the economy. Ghanaians don't have confidence in even your bonds. Right now, you've placed everything on treasury bills. You've destroyed the economy. Our democracy too, you are almost finishing it. Because the EC doesn't have any credibility. You have breached your vow. Because under your watch, a fellow Ghanaian is in detention right now. Under your watch, when you say you're going to protect the constitution. Indeed, if you recall, the Ashanti regional minister had the audacity to attempt to order the police to go arrest an ECG official only because they went to of the Cape Poly. Yeah. Also, was it the transport minister who also ordered policemen to go and pick up members of the the GPRTU because they dared charge a fare different from what a club, because GPRTU is a club, it's an association. You understand? But and the president sat down. Why? Why would the ministers have the audacity to be breaching our constitution? Using the powers that the president himself, we Ghanaians, we give the president they are giving to them, and they are using the powers in the manner adverse to why we give them the powers, and the president sat down. And then after you've given us all this, you say you have one job to do. After you have failed your job, you say you have one job to do. Your job is to sell to us Abonsam Samana.
What?
Abonsam Samana. You remember Abonsam Samana? Abonsam Samana in Kumasi, we used to call it "Don't touch me." Because if you touch Abonsam Samana, he say, "You see my beautiful brown." So my fingers will become very Caucasian, and I'm a beautiful brown. Abonsam Samana, who had the confidence to sit on air, told every Ghanaian that the signature project in the north is Polygudam. Meanwhile, it's empty. It's empty. Abonsam Samana, who told us, oh, there's school feeding, then he laughed. School feeding. If you eat this.
You should explain the Abonsam Samana for those who don't know. Who are you talking about?
Oh, I'll get there. Oh, I'll get there. I'm describing him. He said, Saturn Asempa said he's going to the signature project, which has already been done. Signature project. Emphasis on the word signature. Because it's not a mere project. It's a signature one. The place is as bare as my chest. Very bare. Oh, it's as bare as, you see how the calabash is bare, as the service of the calabash. And yet $12 million has been paid. Abonsam Samana, who was talking about e-school feeding. I want to create e-school feeding. Abonsam Samana, who was so proud when we went to launch or inaugurate 20 toilets. The president said this Abonsam Samana is his last job that he wants to do in fulfillment of the 3 oaths he took to do good by Ghana. He's going to foist Abonsam Samana on us. It's all of us, our duties, all of us, to ensure that the Abonsam Samana, also known as Timothy, also known as Bewa, Mahmoud. The Mahmoud does not become president to perpetuate this Koshoko leadership that has been meted out to us. And that, I know we have never done it before. We should start thinking about the second oath he took. But the second oath he took was that if he failed to fulfill the oath, that, in fact, for the avoidance of doubt, let me read, so everybody, so we're all here, that I, Nana Akufo-Addo, having been elected to the high office of President of the Republic of Ghana, do in the name of the Almighty God swear or solemnly affirm that I will be faithful and true to the Republic of Ghana. He has not been faithful and true to Ghana. And that is what Galamsey has killed our environment. Under his watch, his party people, apparatchiks, have stolen the resources of Ghana. And that is what they are sharing state properties like toffees. Under his watch, Brian Echampon has the cockroach audacity to attempt to buy a property that belongs to every single Ghanaian. Under his watch, he sat down and they are flouting the public cloud that was created on them. He's saying that what he swore that he was going to be faithful and true to the Republic of Ghana. He said that I will at all times preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. The PC you understand? His ministers attempted to arrest Ghanaians for nothing done. You'll get the picture. And that is what his interim minister is sharing 30 slots to MPP people. But not beyond being under his watch, he himself, in the third vow, where he said that he's going to dedicate myself to the service and well-being of the people of the Republic of Ghana and do right to all manner of persons, had the temerity to stand in front of the people of Ekunfi to tell them that, listen, you didn't vote for one piece, so I won't bring you development. He could go to Mefe when even if you are not the president and you have not taken this, so don't you have any empathy towards people, poor people, you understand, who, due to no fault of theirs, they can't even have places to sleep. They have been displaced. So even if you are not president, but you are president, and having taken an oath, You go and you tell them, you rub salt into their injury and tell them, I'm not supposed to even come to your aid because you didn't vote for me. What's it called? Then he what's it called? Goes to an FM station. And because the chief is simply asking, oh, the E-blocks how? He said what? Oh, so he should go and do it. Then you go to a Judicial. And you see the same thing. You do all these things in spite of the fact that you've taken an oath that you are going to dedicate yourself to the well-being of the people of this country. You took an oath. But he also took another oath that says that I further swear, solemnly swear, that should I at any time break this oath of office. He took that oath. I shall submit myself to the laws of the Republic of Ghana. I'm calling on you, Nanado, to submit yourself to the laws of this country. Because you've breached every single oath you took. You have destroyed this country for crying out loud. You've destroyed the culture here, the political culture here. You've destroyed it. You have destroyed the culture of leadership. Because right now, the young people who are looking up to you don't understand that when they put themselves, or when they have the privilege to be in public office, there's a public trust that is created on them. And that comes with a high standard, a high obligation. Because now a champion shouldn't, for crying out, even think about, whilst he's a minister, a cabinet minister, be thinking about buying public property. And I'm saying the conversation about Ben Chapel is about the how much he's selling for. No, it shouldn't even be up for discussion. If you are in public office, if you want to buy public, go into the private sector. But under your watch, because of the bad examples you are setting, under your watch, you see the 5G thing. And as I hear some of these are so-called ministers talking, so it's good for us and they're experts. But that isn't the issue. The issue is we have a law, a PPP law, that has set out the procedures to be followed. To what end? So that the people of Ghana will be protected. That's why we make laws. That's why we bring procedures for everything that concerns the public. But he's breached it. So now I beg you, submit yourself. Submit yourself to the laws of this country, because you've breached every single oath you took. And you've broken our country. And we should say and sound a resounding no to that Bonsan Samna he wants to sell to us. We should all vote against Baumia. We should vote. In fact, when you're going to vote, kiss your thumb and vote against him. And let's vote for credible leadership. And that credible leadership is in the person of Honorable Alan-Jokojo Kyerematen. Let's salvage and see what is left of our dear nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lara. We're discussing transfer of votes and matters arising. Let me do a few comments you're sending to us via Facebook. We sincerely apologize for the quality of the feed on Facebook and YouTube. You're having some small difficulties with the internet, but please bear with us. But you're sending comments, and we're grateful for that. And if Adam says, how are Compson shot guns randomly at a police station, was not even invited by the police, but someone had a gun in a car and she was arrested, had the police fair. Send that for Tamale. Possible winners and trace to their candidates. There's Seidu John Paul, who is watching us from Tamale. The actions and inactions of the MPP government is so alarming, so disheartening, so unscrupulous, and so cruel. If you're in power, doesn't mean you should intimidate the opposition groups. When
Thank you very much. And I just want to take a few seconds to share my condolences with the Chibi family. You're very man is very. The litmus test for a God-fearing leader is listening around the country. Proverbs 29:2 says, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. There's groanings by the rule of President Akufo-Addo. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. There's mourning everywhere and in everything, every area. People are suffering. They are groaning, they are mourning because a wicked man is in rulership who people thought was godly. He's not godly at all. Now everybody has seen it. Everything has become so political. Like they said, I don't need to, buttress it. But it's there. To represent her people. You accuse her of not spelling a name right on the license. And I want to make a point. I'm sure she needed to take her Ghana card or an ID to the police to do the licensing for her. So the mistake in there, anybody who wants peace and who wants the progress of this country should join that call. Because licensed gun, you find a way of detaining her overnight or over the weekend because of orders from above. Look, today is her turn. Tomorrow it could be yours. Let's fight for the right thing at all times. And not just because you are in power. Power, you can be out of power tomorrow. Anything can happen in Ghana. And if it does happen, we are all at risk. So let me condemn this act and say no, it is wrong. And let me say that the president can't keep any oath. Bible describes such people as wicked. I'm not the one saying it. It says when the wicked rule, the people mourn. When you listen to the mournings all over the country, you see that we have a wicked man in rulership. Come December this year, like he said, the last 6 months, I don't know what's going to happen. But I believe that things are going to get progressive.
Just a few messages. Musa Abatua says, it is deeply troubling to witness the politically motivated arrest and detention of Phyllis Nakoyo, while her counterpart Hawa Kumsum remains free despite being reported for firing gunshot during a similar registration exercise. IGP George Akufo-Addo's Paris inability to stand uphold justice for all, regardless of political ties. So those are some of the messages. There are some of you are sending us text messages. This is from he says, I'm Silas Sowa from Tishi. I want to know this before I vote for NDC. If John Mahama wins the 2024 elections, is he going to be father for all? And then he continues. This one might be in a little... he says, I don't think I will send any case to court when egg and a benzo cost only 6 Ghana. To solve problems instead of going to court to face MPP lawyers. That is a message from Silas.
I would urge all of those discussing these matters to be extremely fair to the police service and the Inspector General of Police for good reason. There is no institution which can function, carry out its constitutional duties and so on without public support. So public support becomes very key for the independent functioning of every and any institution in our country. Now we are discussing these matters at a time when the public is fully conscious and aware of a conspiracy within the police service to remove the Inspector General of Police because he was seen to be fair. Now this matter went to Parliament for discussion. Parliament in its wisdom set up a bipartisan committee to go into these matters. After a draft report many months ago, Parliament is unable to state its position, which by inference is the position of the people they represent, on a matter as crucial as the misuse of the police service for electoral purposes. Parliament, as of now, has not been able to state its clear position on the subversion for political purposes of the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police does not have public support and public defense. Under these circumstances, what do you expect the police service to do? If we, members of the public, fail to insist on the independence of the police service and the need for the actors to be fair to all and so on, and we leave them to their fate, this is what we should be expecting. I'm completely disgusted by the fact that this matter has been allowed to die. Nobody is raising any question about it. If you were IGP Dampari, what would you do? Bottom line, he's a human being like all of us. Bottom line, why? If he didn't need his job, he would have resigned a long time ago. He needs the job. That's why he's still sitting there. And if he's threatened, and we do not rise to his defense, what do you expect him to do? This is part of the problem. You understand? So sometimes I think that we are particularly unfair to public office holders because we fail to defend them. We fail to give them the strength that enables them to act independently, to act on the basis of the provisions of the Constitution. And if we fail to do that, we have no right whatsoever to complain when they err or where they appear to err. Now, the two exercises we are discussing, voter registration exercise and transfer of votes, have been extremely revealing. For me, extremely revealing. And they have showed us the fault lines in our electoral process. And I think it is about time that we soberly reflect on what has happened within the last couple of weeks. You take the voter registration exercise. Take the voter registration exercise. It should be normally an individual affair. It is not political parties and other groups which determine the date of birth and therefore the age of individuals. It's a purely individual family matter. Okay? And that is the basis of the whole voter registration exercise. One of the qualifications, nationality, age, and maybe others. You understand? So when you have a situation where organizations, maybe political parties, are mobilizing people and putting them into buses, that alone is an indication that something is going wrong. That alone. It's an individual affair. You don't register people on the basis of their party affiliation. The exercise is not about parties. It's about Ghanaian individuals who have attained a certain age and are qualified according to the Constitution to vote. So as soon as mass mobilization meet to hire buses together, to board the buses together in a group. How? How do they meet? So clearly, there's a master hand, or if you like, a mastermind behind that exercise which occurred in Walensee. And whatever it is a clear indication of gerrymandering, if you like. You understand? And it should raise major concerns for all those who are interested in maintaining this very limited democracy. It's very limited. The democracy we are practicing is limited in many ways. We are not living under a fully democratic society guaranteed by a constitution which fully protects the rights of citizens and so on. There are many lacunas in this constitution. There are many problems with this constitution. But whatever it is, it offers us some limited democracy, which perhaps we need to protect. Because in the absence of this limited democracy, maybe the option we have may be too scary. That's what some people have said. I'm not expressing my own views, okay? Because I believe firmly that the way we are going, the dangers ahead of us are so grave that perhaps what we need to do now is to reset. Whatever that means. You understand? Because we are moving into an avalanche which can erase everything we stood for and fought for. So maybe what we need to do is to halt for a moment, evaluate the situation, and rebuild from the beginning. Maybe that is the option. But it's not everybody who is going to agree with this. This is my view. And I accept that this is a very radical view. Okay? But in moments of despair, complete despair, radicalism becomes a tool for re-engineering society and moving society forward. So I make no apologies for my radical stance. To be frightened if we observe that trend. All the public opinion surveys I have seen, at least over the last 5 years, suggest very strongly a decline in public confidence in the Electoral Commission. Public confidence in the Electoral Commission is dwindling, and dwindling at a very fast rate. Shouldn't we be asking why? What is it that has happened in these two exercises which should frighten us, those of us who have noticed this dwindling in public confidence? What is it? Look, one of the things that have worried me over the last few years and so on is the reckless statements made by commissioners on the Electoral Commission. Absolutely reckless statements. Imagine a footballer, a football game between Hearts and Kotoko. And the referee, just before the match, sings praises of the goalkeeper of one team and the midfield and so on, and comes to the conclusion that as for that team, by all means, they have to win the championship. How would you assess that referee? And how is this different from an electoral commissioner who makes a public statement to the effect that as far as is concerned, one of the contending political parties, its objective and practice is to undermine the democratic order? What statement can be more reckless from an electoral commissioner than this statement? And yet you have allowed this to go. Nobody complains. If there are little complaints about text messages and a few comments and so on, it's finished. After making such a profound statement, he has continued to be electoral commissioner for years. Again, are we blaming the electoral commission or we are blaming ourselves? I don't know. But that's part of the problem which confronts us. Will such a thing be allowed to pass? Where? Even under Papa Doc, 80. This would not have been allowed to pass. Openly partisan. Openly partisan. And the other time, I raised the question. I said, if during the era of Professor Mills or John Mahama, they had appointed Dr. Tony Edu as an electoral commission, what would have happened? I was in the studio with an NPP communicator and said, oh, as for Dr. Tony Edu, they know that he's an honest man, they will not object. You understand? But then we are coming to accept things as normal. Abrasive things. Things that undermine the constitutional order. Things that are done in our faces, not behind us. Something happens. Something happens. For me, the other significant thing in the two exercises, I think it was lawyer Apia Dankwa or my brother who was saying that the Electoral Commission has been making errors in calculations. The errors the Electoral Commission makes is not in calculations. It's not in solving algebraic problems. It's not in applying that theory, how do they call it? Pythagoras theory and so on. No! All of them. They will tell you that in the past, we receive the results in the strong room first, before the Electoral Commission gets the results. Amongst us, we argue, correct errors and so on, and then append our signatures to the results. Afarijan's only duty was to declare results which have been affirmed by agents of the political parties. That's all. One system could have decided to shut down the strong room. And I can imagine what could have happened in this country without the strong room. And I can't understand why that decision was made. I don't know why. I can't understand why that decision was made. But the decision has been made, and apparently the political parties have accepted it. Whom am I? Whom am I? You understand? Yes. The strong room has been closed. It's been abolished. The political parties have accepted it.
And regional collation centers have now come in.
Exactly. And the last election, look at what happened at the regional collation centers. So, I cannot believe what is happening. Now, this whole idea of armed people going to registration centers, going to polling stations, and so on, there's a reason why it is still continuing. There's a reason. And the reason is that those who infracted the law before got away with it. So everybody knows that you can get away with it, especially if you wear a certain party color. I've said this a couple of times, I'm going to say it again. I was invited to speak at the observance of the 2nd anniversary of what happened at Ayawaso West Wagon. And I was totally broken. Saw people who would never be able to walk again. I saw people who can never work again, who have become dependent for life. I saw people in plasters and bandages and so on. It was a horrible sight. What happened to the perpetrators of these crimes? People in security uniform, armed to the teeth, went to Ayawaso West Wagon and visited mayhem on innocent citizens. What happened? The government, by itself, in its own wisdom, set up a commission of inquiry, headed by no less a person than my very good friend, Emil Short. And I've known Emil Short since he was practicing in Cape Coast. I've known him, saw him carry his father's bags and so on, Cape Coast High Court and all. I was then a court reporter, young court reporter. I've seen him, built a certain relationship with him. I can vouch for his integrity. I can disagree with him on many political issues, my understanding of society and so on. But when it comes to integrity, I do think that he has it in sufficient quantities. And I'm choosing my words advisedly. Members of the commission included a former Inspector General of Police. It included a sitting Supreme Court judge who had been a lecturer at the Ghana School of Law. So, the Commission of Inquiry came out with its report. What happened? It was jettisoned. A substantial part of it was jettisoned. Nothing has happened. Those who fired and injured, those who abused the state security services and so on, are walking free. Nothing has happened to them. Perhaps nothing would happen to them. Why do you think that others would not do the same? If this is not a license for misbehavior, what else can be a license for misbehavior? At the end of the last elections, 8 people were dead. 8 human beings were dead. Not cockroaches, not ants, not rabbits. 8 human beings died. What did they die for? They died in vain. Why is justice for the 8 people who died? Who cares? Our own reluctance to stand up and speak promotes injustice and promotes impunity. So we are all the time pointing our fingers to the Flagstaff House, to Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to Kandapa and so on. Let us remember that when you point your forefinger somewhere, the rest points to you. And we should begin to take responsibility for our inaction, for our condolence, is that how they say? You know, and so on. We should begin to take responsibility for that. And that is why I am happy that ordinary citizens, including the unemployed, including people who may never become ministers, who cannot even dream of becoming municipal chief executives, have taken on the struggle and have started the Free Koyo campaign. That gives me hope. It gives me hope that if our big men would not speak, if our big men and women would allow themselves to be compromised, ordinary people will not. There's a problem, however. When there's a leadership failure and the masses have to take matters into their own hands, there's no telling where it would end. There's no telling the conduct of protest and its impact on society. And that is why it is important in our society for leaders, those who see themselves as leaders, even if they are self-appointed leaders, to take action in order to avert a situation where the anger of the people spreads into all the little corners of our community. Because the anger of the people is a potent force. It is the most potent force in the world. There is no force who can defeat the collective and determined anger of the population. And the leaders should watch out. I'm a little older. So I can speak to some lessons. Were they part of the Achampon regime? They were not. Were they part of the Akufo regime? They were not. Politically innocent persons who suffered as a result of the failure of people like us to speak out, to stand for something. We, our inaction, our silence, led to all of those people suffering atrocities. Atrocities that we would not wish for anybody else. We should learn those important lessons and apply those lessons today in order to avert similar situations. But listen, if we fail to learn those lessons and apply those lessons today, what we don't, and go home and sleep. No arrest, no questioning, no nothing. But it is an offense to keep a gun in your car, a gun you haven't fired in your car. What? What kind of fairness is this? What kind of justice is this? Does this make sense? That one parliamentary candidate can actually pick a weapon, fire it at a polling station, at a registration center, fire the gun. Nothing happens. No arrest, no nothing. Another parliamentary candidate has a gun in her car. The gun has not been fired. And she is arrested and detained. Wonders, they say, can never end. But there are still wonders when they occur. They may not end, but anytime they occur, there are still wonders. You see? Now, from what we are being told, unless the reports we are getting from the media are not correct, this lady has been granted bail. Then all of a sudden, by some strange developments, the bail is rescinded or she's arrested and locked up. What is the condition? There is no indication that she would have absconded. No indication whatsoever that she would have absconded. Last night, that's the worst part. That actually, there's a license. The gun in question is a pump action gun with 3 or 4 rounds of ammunition in them. 3 or 4. Okay? And that it has been licensed. So what is the problem? The woman is called Phyllis. Some people spell Phyllis with 1 L. Some people spell it with 2 L's. And indeed, it won't change anything if it's spelled with 4 L's. You understand? But we are told that she writes her name with 2 L's. But the name on the license is 1 L. Hey, they. Master, I should be in prison by now. No, I'm telling you, I should be in prison. Because there are documents on which my Kwesi is spelled with an A. When my normal Kwesi that I write is spelled with an E. How many people will survive if we have to examine all the documents they have in their name and spellings and so on? And I hear that her courier also misses 1 O. Yes. Sufficient grounds for determining a prospective member of parliament, sitting parliamentary candidate, and so on. Amazing. To say the least, amazing. But Master, it doesn't end there. The act is supposed to have been committed where? At Ofanko.
Yeah.
No, so?
Yeah, Kaswa.
Is it Ofanko? No.
Yeah, Kaswa Ofanko.
Okay, Kaswa Ofanko. Yeah. So if this is not an extraordinary case, why has the suspect been detained at Cantonment's police station? Her mere detention at Cantonment's police station suggests that this is a very special case. Because otherwise, why? There's a district police and so on. Why is this case being handled by headquarters? Now, my brother, I'm going to say something which I should not be saying. 2 weeks ago, on this very program, I made what some have said is a passionate appeal to all the former heads, retired heads of the security services. You understand? All of them. And I mentioned them by name and said this is the time for them to speak up. If for nothing at all, to safeguard their lifelong work of building an enviable security service in Ghana. My friend, and he's my friend, everybody knows he's my friend, Kofi Boakye. Excellent career in the police service. Al-Hassan, who became IGP, excellent career in the police service. Mr. Kwanson, excellent career in the intelligence service and so on. Are they going to sit back and watch all the work that they did, devoted their life service to do, whittle away. General Kote, nice gentleman. He was a woman's man. True. Everybody loved him. And so, lover boy. He was outside the country. And when the coup occurred, he thought that he had nothing to fear or hide. So he flew into the country. What happened? He was grabbed, taken to the firing range, and shot. So even for those of you who in your conscience know that you haven't done anything to harm this country, you have nothing to fear like General Kote and so on, be careful. Because public anger is not about who is innocent. It's not about who doesn't fear. Sometimes it's just about setting examples. And any one of us can become an example. Let us handle these matters in such a way that we will protect our society and protect ourselves. That's not what I'm saying. Protect the society and protect ourselves. It is not all about altruism. It gets to a point where your own interests, the interest of your wife, the interest of your children, the interest of your extended family, the interest of your community should also matter to you. What kind of a father are you if you don't care about the safety of your children and your wife and so on? You are a useless father. So don't you ever think that you can become a father in isolation, a good father hiding somewhere when the society itself is burning. Armageddon is approaching. And Armageddon is approaching at a terrific speed. We need to take measures to protect now and tomorrow. I'll finish.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me do a few comments. We're coming to a matter that you were personally involved in. The matter of the protest, the Palestinian protest on the car parade. But before we get there, this is a ragamuffin of who Anglo-Koji Bakume, who says good morning. Pan-African, the error in the spelling of the name of the PC undermines the recruitment into police service of unqualified persons. Some of them don't have even the most basic education certificate. That's Ragamuffin who said that one. This is obvious the easy ones to send this country to Fifth Republic, but it cannot happen under the watch of some of us. There's more. Says good morning. To your panelists, especially Honorable Alexander Segbefia, please, I have serious observations with regards to NDC stopping the MPP and breaking the 8. I think that the NDC as a party have not learned any lessons because the current MPP does not believe in democracy. So NDC should do the following if they believe, if they really want to rescue this country. It goes ahead to make 2 prescriptions. The press conference must stop and always take practical measures. 2, the leadership of the party should from now on stop anything that it deems illegal because it's clear that nobody is ready to speak truth to power in this country as they were doing in James' time. That's from Mash Taylor in Yendi who sent that. There's Alanes who sent this from Accra, says NDC MPs, especially those in their safe zones, don't care whether the party loses or not. After all, their seats are always safe. Some of them are benefiting and enjoying now more than ever. NDC very, very weak. Thank you for that message. This one says, SENA, Ghanaians are quiet, not talking because they have been manipulated spiritually through enchantments. Anyway, let me continue. Sorceress, divinations to shut them up even if things are going wrong. This is from Enyo of Kutunse who sent this. Sena, coming events cast their shadows. It is very sad though. The Fourth Republic is coming to an end and has started waving us goodbye in various forms. Safe journey, he says. This one says, Thomas in Cape Coast, please, Mr. Host, let Akufo-Addo know that he can do whatever he likes with him, with his MPP appointees, but one day they will stand before God. That's Thomas who sent that from Cape Coast. Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm is also joining and says, good morning. In my humble opinion, the managers of Dr. Bawumia are doing more harm than good to him because of political power. Dr. Bawumia is out there calling on the clergy to come together and will help them to partner the private sector to complete the National Cathedral. God have mercy. Because of the cathedral, 21 houses belonging to our judges has been demolished. Our passport, the scholarship secretariat are all gone. Thank you very much for sending those messages. And of course, like I said, because this is also connected to the right of citizens, I'm coming to the matter of the socialist movement of Ghana. In fact, I saw this on your Facebook page, where there was a disagreement with the police over the dates, police making certain claims, trying to get a document and going it through it for you. But actually, it was about the fact that was supposed to happen today. Since the police have given some reasons as to why they say it cannot happen today. That was why I said it involves you, because even reading through the letter, it was like as if you were proposing to do it next week. Whether or not there's an agreement with the police is another matter. Do you have an agreement with the police now?
Well, the public order law insists that before you organize any public manifestation, you need to inform the police at least 5 days in advance. That's the public order law. And when the police have been informed, if they have any concerns, they're supposed to communicate it to you. Okay. Yeah? And where the agreement persists, the police then has a duty to go to court. So from a strict interpretation of the public order law, nobody has an obligation to seek permission from the police to organize a public manifestation. I do hear a lot of people trying to organize demonstrations and saying they're going for police permit. The police doesn't issue permit. It doesn't have that authority. Okay. It is only the courts at the level of the High Court which can make a decision as to whether a demonstration should take place or not. And even then, the court's mandate only kicks in when there's disagreement between the police and the organizers. Okay. Now, the practice over the years has been for the police to go to court ex parte to seek injunctions. I think that is clearly an injustice. Because those whose rights are being violated should have a right to defend themselves, to prefer arguments which may be better or superior to the arguments that the police put forward. And I was very happy when another High Court judge frowned on this ex parte applications for injunctions. But in spite of that, it is continuing. And I think that all of us, no matter who we are, need to do something about this process and ensure the sanctity of the process. I would even say that the public order law is an affront to the 1992 Constitution. Because the 1992 Constitution provides no fetters to the enjoyment of citizens' right of free expression. There are no fetters at all. The public order law introduces fetters. And if I were a lawyer, or I had the means to litigate, is one of the areas I would have challenged, but be that as it may. So the world is witnessing a genocide which has never been seen in history. This genocide is different because of the times in which we are. In the Hitlerite era, there was no social media. You didn't see the gassing of people and so on television, live television. Now, there's a totally different world. And we can see the genocide being committed right under our eyes. If today we can criticize those who lived in the Hitlerite era for not raising a finger as Hitler committed the genocide, can you imagine what future generations will say about us in this era of social media and so on? in this era of live television if we do not lift a finger. Now, official estimates says that about 40,000 Palestinians have been killed. About 40,000. Imagine 40,000 people. Okay? But that does not count those who have lost their lives under the rubble, who have still not been discovered. It does not count those who have been buried in mass graves by the misnamed IDF, and so on. Okay. More than 100,000 people have suffered various degrees of injury. Many of them have been amputated, and so on. You understand? So this is the situation the world is confronted with. And I think it's imperative on any and every people of conscience to raise at least a finger in order to end this genocide. We have a responsibility to ourselves and to the future to condemn this genocide. Now, unfortunately for those of us who happen to be Ghanaian, our government has behaved in the most embarrassing manner. Our government has so devalued our citizenship in the face of this genocide that it's even more imperative for us to speak out. Because our president has declared that he and Ghana, and I wonder who told him that I'm part of that Ghana, stand firmly with Israel. So we have a responsibility to demonstrate that we don't stand firmly with the president, even though he may imagine that he's standing firmly with us. We've organized a number of protests and so on, and we've come up with another novel idea of protest, which is to organize a car parade. So a number of cars with Palestinian flags were supposed today to move from the entrance of the University of Ghana all the way to the Arts Center, make a left, and end up at Harts Park. That was the original plan. Now, the police raised a number of objections, very strange objections. One, that this car parade would disrupt the supply of essential services. A car parade which is not likely to last for more than 2 hours. Okay. That it will endanger efforts to protect public peace and security and others and so on. And another very ridiculous reason the police gave was simply that another organization is planning a demonstration on this day, and therefore we cannot have 2 demonstrations. Now let's take the last one. If that organization is not pro-Israel, is not demonstrating in opposition to this demonstration, how does that become a problem for the police or for anybody? You understand? So that's a problem. Now, which demonstration doesn't affect the flow of traffic? Is there a demonstration anywhere in the world, including Afghanistan and Kosovokaya, who does not affect traffic and so on? So we've written a very reasonable letter to the police, telling them, they also asked us to postpone the time from today to next Saturday. We've agreed, made several concessions with the police. And it seems to me that next Saturday will be the date. Nothing will stop the car parade from taking place next Saturday. After all the concessions we have made, including shifting the date. You understand? We are confident that nothing will stop this car parade from taking place. And the car parade will definitely take place on Saturday, the 15th of June. All those who have registered to participate, we are sending you notices via the internet and so on about the plans that we have and so on. Please get ready and participate fully in this manifestation against injustice, against colonial occupation, and against apartheid. Look around the world today. Only this week, European countries are jumping over themselves to recognize the state of Palestine. European countries, members of the European Union. Ireland had done it. Spain has done it. That's another country. Slovenia has done it. In fact, 4 countries. And they did it with parliamentary approval. From what we know, by the end of next week, 3 more European countries are recognizing the state of Palestine. Now, if they do it, we have no reason not to do it. Because Palestine has been our ally throughout all of our struggles. Listen to Nelson Mandela. When he says, when Israel and the West were sabotaging our fight against apartheid, Arafat stood side by side with us. And that nobody dares tell him what friends he should make. And that Arafat is a son of South Africa dedicated to struggle against all forms of racism and so on. That's Nelson Mandela, not me. Okay? Even the Palestinians in the face of the occupation, colonial occupation, and apartheid and so on, supported our struggles. How can we fail? So next week, Saturday, 9 a.m., the car parade will start from the entrance to the University of Ghana. And we will all be there. The police has asked us to change the route. Strangely, the police thinks that we should not pass in front of Jubilee House. We agree. Passing in front of Jubilee House does not add anything, doesn't take away anything. So we will drive to 37 Military Hospital, take a right, and turn at Kawudi Junction on the left, all the way to the Ridge Circle, and end up at Hart Park. We are making all these concessions to the police. So now doesn't that tell you that many things have changed? In the past, we would not make any concession. But now, we will make some concessions. You know.
Yes, I see. Thank you. Thank you very much. Quick comments on that. I'll start with Lola Segbefia.
Thank you. In law, excessive force to deal with something is illegal. So, if a thief enters your house and you see him and he's running, and you take out your gun and you shoot him in the back, you are possibly going to charge with murder and not manslaughter. Because he was no threat to you at that time. But it's true, he was a thief coming into your house. If somebody hits you and you hit him and he falls and he's on the ground, and then you dare about go and take up sticks and stones to continue to beat him till he's maimed, that will be deemed excessive force to deal with the situation. But he's the one who started it. So you have mitigation, but an offense has been committed. What is happening in Palestine? The force is too much. We have a clear case of excessive force to solve a problem. So, yes, there are hostages. Yes, things have happened. But what is happening there? There is no problem. War has never solved a problem. You have to come to a table at a certain point and jaw. So, you have made your point. Don't hit me again. That's basically what it is. Don't hit me again. If not, you've made your point. Everybody knows that you are strong. Fine. And you have big brothers who are who are prepared to watch over your interest. We know this. I think everybody has got the message. But this cannot continue. And I'm in favor of a total ceasefire. And proper negotiators get involved and begin to speak to people. It's a very difficult scenario, but killing children, women who have no part to play in the issue can never be the solution. And the saddest part of this is that it will continue to permeate this difference that exists, because some people cannot forget. A whole generation is going to remember this for another 2 generations. So it will continue to have a problem in that whole Middle East area. And it's not good. So I don't want to talk much on it. I think that we are clear. The way forward is not what is happening. And all the powers that, including the big brothers and all the other people, should begin to recognize the need. You cannot say that Palestine cannot exist. You cannot. This issue has been going on for far too long. And there are enough big brothers around tables to put their foot down and say, this must cease. This is theirs, this is yours, this is how we'll share it or whatever. And leave people to do what they need. And everybody deals with their security. And once you put it down and everybody is clear, everybody gets on with their life. Why? Everything was fine in that neck of the wood. We all thought, oh, look. Then this kicks off. And to make a point, we've gone, in my humble opinion, OTT. As for the retaliation, it was going to come. Yes. But where we are now and say that, okay, look, as far as we are concerned here, the Nigerian land is ours. That we should. It doesn't work like that anymore. Just sit down, judge and find a solution to this. And there are people who can do it. But for me, there's a lot of bravado and ego tripping at certain points. And I don't want to diminish the argument. But it cannot continue like this. So everybody come to the table. Let's talk. And the point, if there was a point to be made. But excessive force is an offense. So people have to be careful that if this continues, then you are looking at the International Criminal Court in the future. Because this is not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Apia Dankwa.
For me, the issue is pretty simple. As in, we are on trial for, I believe, for principle. Or what is on trial is principle, your values and beliefs in principle. Because there are two issues here. Issues concerning people's right to self-determination and issues bordering on our rights to life itself. After all, in 1776, the USA waged a war to enforce their right to self-determination. Various wars have been waged. Indeed, in my lifetime, I've seen the Baltic War because certain people felt that they had the right to self-determination. I've seen the disintegration of the USSR because certain people felt that they had the right to self-determination. Indeed, we in Ghana in 1957 enforced our right to self-determination when we had our independence. So, on what basis do we think the people of Palestine do not have a right to their self-determination? Yeah. So for me, it's pretty simple. I think right now we are so unprincipled that as we say this today and then tomorrow we say this. But it's a straightforward issue. At all times, the people of Palestine have an inherent right to their self-determination, and we should all fight to ensure that those rights are fulfilled. Beyond that, I also come to a right of sometimes being biased is good. You understand? Because when somebody has held you, has found favor with you, when you were in your struggles, some people came to support you. Then, for me, beyond everything else, you owe them an obligation to also help them when they did for, as in, unfortunately, they need to wage a war to enforce their right to forge a country of their own. You understand? So on that basis, not on all force, as in, force a certain right cannot be used by somebody else only because of the virtue of whatever. So for me, I think that matter is pretty clear. Also, what is pretty clear is that collectively we've decided as a global community that under no circumstance should genocide be allowed. Under no circumstance should we allow people to be killed only because of their race, because of their tribe, because of their nationality. You understand? And so the fact that you are retaliating, the fact that you are retaliating does not give you a right to commit genocide. People have been tried in the criminal. All that also happening in the Ivy League schools. All right, there's a big issue. Yeah. It's how, because it's principle. It's not about whether you are pro-West. See, there are certain issues that goes beyond whether you are pro-West or you are pro-East. Sometimes when you toe the line of principle, it saves you a lot of issue. So I think that issue, in my view, is also pretty clear that genocide is being done, and I bet you they are doing this. Netanyahu themselves are doing this because of their own political, political interests. And the last thing has to do with those of us as in people's desire to be part of this demonstration. As in those of us in Ghana who are going to take, as we should have a for which you are ready to die for, then you have no right even to live. Understand? So on Saturday, I know probably some people have registered. I mean, this is the first time I'm even hearing of the demonstration. But I think many more people should enlist and be part of this struggle. This struggle to enforce principle. Because in my view, what is on trial is not just about the people of Palestine and then their right to self-determination. It's not about the wrongs that is being perpetrated in terms of the genocide that is being perpetrated on the people of Palestine. It's not even about the apartheid regime there, but it's about principle. And so we should all join forces, join the struggle. After all, when we were being oppressed, we have support, and we have support from the people of Palestine, and they deserve a reciprocation of same. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable?
Yeah, thank you. It's a very difficult topic for me. I'm always uncomfortable with this Palestine issue. I totally agree that there should be a ceasefire. I think people are benefiting from the war. And that's why it's taking so long. Not only politically, I'm sure economically too, people are benefiting from the war. I agree with Honorable Segbefia that you have a right to defense, but it shouldn't be excessive. And I think that's how I view it. I don't want to talk too much about it. The events are also, in my view, biblical, and it's leading towards things to come. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. There's this one from message that sent. SENA, Israel depends upon the West to exact their might on Palestine. I strongly believe that the Arab world must also provide a counterforce to draw parity. Otherwise, the inaction of the Arab world stokes the fire of genocide committed by Israel and her Western allies. That's the comment we have on that one. I have about 30 minutes to go. So let's conclude with a topic that we discussed the last week. In the last week, one of the issues we're discussing had to do with the Attorney General and the tape that was out. Now a decision has been made by the court. The AG himself has been speaking biblically. He even says we should play a Methodist hymn for him on our radio stations and everything. He says it's going nowhere. It's going absolutely nowhere. Let me start with Lale Segbefia, because I remember that press conference was organized mostly by the National Democratic Congress. Lale, please, you have 10 minutes on that one.
Okay, let me deal from a different angle, because for me that is important. I'm aware of the case being in court, etc. So, but there are certain tenets of criminal jurisprudence that hold us and move forward, and there's precedents, historical context in which these things have come about. Okay. The first is the caution statement in criminal law, which says that if you are asked, you don't have to say anything, and if you do, anything you say can be used against you in evidence. It's not by mistake that came about. It's you have a right not to self-incriminate yourself. Period. It's a pillar of criminal law. 2, in criminal law, the burden of proof is always on the prosecution up to a point, but the burden is on the prosecutor. And the standard of proof, you have civil cases, you have criminal cases. In criminal cases, the standard of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, whereas in civil cases, it's on a balance of probabilities. Very clear tenets of criminal law. So in criminal law, it is beyond a reasonable doubt. by any court because it assists his case of his innocence, which he already is. Now, the Nuremberg trials established something very pertinent in our law. That was in 1946. And that is that when they are unlawful or laws that are not lawful, under universal law or the rule of law, call it what you or natural law, call it what you, they have no weight whatsoever. There is no law. So when people were gassing people in chambers and there was a law in Germany saying that you can do this or that, they said, all of you, that was a law that doesn't stand. You acted unlawfully. Even though you had a statute or a document saying you could do A, B, or C, under our human rights, under the natural law, you cannot. I'll refer you to a case called Riggs and Palmer. Go and look it up. It's very interesting. 1889. In that case, a young man, a grandson, became a beneficiary of his grandfather's will. And he became worried that if he grows older and his father lives long, his father will change the will and he will no longer be the absolute beneficiary. So he poisoned his grandfather and the man died. He was charged with murder, but the will was still in existence. And in that will, he was the beneficiary of his grandfather's property. So the argument was, oh, you can charge him with murder, sentence him for murder, but he's still entitled to the property. The court said, nah, lie. Even though the law is clear, we will not allow you to benefit from your criminal activity. So, we are not allowing you to obtain. But the law was there. It's written that he is the beneficiary, so he should take. Why have I gone through all this? The judge made a statement which I was happy with. All these principles kick in. Because whatever, one of the aspects, I should, what's it called? Read a section from the case, because it's very, that section is for me extremely important. It says in the judgment, the court held that the legislature cannot be reasonably expected to address all contingencies in crafting law, and that had they had reason to suspect trial, this is a distinct trial, and the thing is flying in the face of our principles or tenets of criminal law. Nothing, in my humble opinion, stops a judge from saying, please, I think that I need a little bit more information. Why? You admitted the tape. The only basis now is what is the weight of the tape. What weight do you put on that tape? And the only way you can weight properly is to have an investigation into the tape and get it authenticated or otherwise. And either way, it affects all the parties involved. If the tape is deemed to be false, Jakpa's evidence becomes almost zero, because he's looking at even a further prosecution, because he would have been looking at perjury, perverting the course of justice. You have brought in a false tape or whatever is there waiting for him. If the tape is deemed to be authentic, you then have a problem with the Attorney General having to now explain or exculpate himself from what was said on the tape. And if that is the case, then it should be taken at the highest in favor of the defendant. Because there seems to be an implied admission that, at least with regard to the first defendant, there isn't sufficient evidence, and that implication can therefore be extended to the second one. and therefore pressure being brought. So getting the tape authenticated is paramount. Now, how would, in my humble opinion, do you go about it? You stay proceedings. You invite CID, Yoko, or whatever, forensic, go and find out for me whether this tape is authentic or not. Now, all these people have links either directly or indirectly with the Attorney General, who is the person who is being looked at. Basic administrative law, when it's this deep and a level at it, says that step aside. Let us do the investigation. And we've seen it before. Why? Anani, Minister of Rules, he stepped aside while Chirac was going on. Kufuor didn't even replace anybody there. He left it vacant. They went and looked at it, came back. He was cleared, he came back. Sipa Yankee, same. He was Minister of Health. Mill said, step aside, maybe and Johnson, let's look at it. He came back, he was cleared. They didn't even send him back to health. They sent CEO of Ghana Gas. So there's precedent for that in our system. Not maybe in the context of a criminal trial, but in terms of governance processes and governance procedure. So I'm clear in my mind, without going into the detail of the case or whether it is that procedurally, once you've admitted the tape, there must be a way to authenticate it. Without that, you don't have the full picture. And it then becomes, and maybe I don't know, so I'm careful with my words, what weight you put on that evidence, except to give it full weighting to the defendant. Because you bear the tenets of him being innocent until proven guilty. You have situations like that. So I believe my 10 minutes is up, SENA. But I just wanted to make So these are the points I want to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I hear from you, this is a message I was sending earlier on the issue we're discovering. This is Elliot Togbe says, I would like to take this opportunity to with Honorable Segbefia and Honorable Dalasua, who are on the show today. The NPP has started their political intimidation, and I urge everyone to be prepared to defend themselves. We are facing severe economic difficulties in the nation, and instead of addressing these issues, they are focusing their energy on intimidating us because they know they have already lost power. They detained Honorable Nakoya for possessing a registered gun due to a minor letter omission in her name. Yet Honorable Hawa Kumsum walks free after firing gunshots in the last election. Isn't this a ploy to intimidate her because they know their candidate has lost the trust of the people? We must stand up for our rights, as the NPP are no more Ghanaians than we are, the NDC and the neutrals. Right.
I was really enjoying the submission of my senior here, and really educated, especially a bit about what St. Augustine said, that an unjust law is no law at all. Yes, and the fact also that really law has been defined, and for me that's my favorite definition of law, is reasoning, free from passion, as Aristotle said. And so when you have an opportunity of using or in your judgments to answer questions that probably our laws hasn't dealt with, to take grasp of those opportunities. I think Lord Justice Dennen is famous for doing that. And I think an opportunity was missed when the judge declined jurisdiction in terms of what constituted mistrial and all that. I think that same opportunity was missed by our courts in the 60s on issues of when the PDA issues came up. For me, I tend to look at this issue from a very political angle instead of I think the courts will deal with the law. But the Attorney General also is a political position, and his task is to take care of justice in this country. And also prosecuting in itself is one of the means in which you can pursue justice. And like we all told, one of the fundamental principles in justice or in delivering justice is to understand that justice must not only be done, it must manifestly be seen to be done. So that if anything happens or in your own conduct, you are unable to manifestly be seen to be delivering justice, then in my view, you serve the entire justice delivery system, you serve the entire governance process better if you not only recuse yourself, but you resign. You see, that you resign. So for me, my expectation wasn't that he will recuse himself. My expectation was that after the tape came up and then all the issues that the tape raised, Attorney General would honorably resign. He would have honorably resigned. For what purpose? To serve the good of all of us, the entire country. Serve the good of delivering justice in this country. Because you see, right now, he's placed this case in a very dire situation. No matter what the judge says, are we going to believe, are Ghanaians going to believe that justice was indeed served? Yes, and I think that was the reason, the judge felt that she can't advise the Attorney General to resign. So you recuse yourself, and whichever way you look at it is a dire or a very grave assessment of the judge on the Attorney General's what's called a role in this scandal. It's very unfortunate if you ask me. So for me, my call is the same as I did on Wednesday. That is, it's not about whether you are persecuting Atufosi or not. That isn't the issue. The issue is that because of the way he's perceived to have conducted himself, and the tape doesn't help him. Because yes, myself, I've listened to what the tape, and it's true that yes, I do not hear him say that, give this evidence. But also in the tape, when they told him that, my friend, I cannot, or I think that if I give evidence in the way which would more or less implicate it would be dishonest. He didn't say anything to suggest that those were not his clear orders. Also, in the tape, a suggestion is made. A suggestion, because we don't have evidence, we all listen to a tape, that somebody should go and take some hospital, what's it called? Yes, for a minister whose duty it is to dispense with justice. Maybe that was not what he meant. Let's assume that's what he meant. But the duty on you is not just to say things that are. It's also your duty to make people believe, to make us manifestly see that you are dispensing with justice. And that has fundamentally been undermined. So no matter the outcome of this case, if he is involved, in the minds of the people of Ghana, justice has not been meted out, no matter the outcome of the case. And that's why, for me, I think it's not even enough that he recuses himself. It's not enough. Because like my senior rightly said, all prosecutions in this country are supposed to be done by the Attorney General or people on his behalf or direction. Now I've heard people started questioning other criminal prosecutions that have been done under his watch. People will question the purpose, as in the genuineness, of all prosecutions that he's going to do. And we can't have a country where people doubt the integrity of the body the Constitution has created, not only to dispense with justice, but also to prosecute. So I'll use this platform again. And maybe I'll borrow from the words of our president. My dear Godfrey Dame, please resign. Please resign, and so that our justice delivery system, the integrity of SIM, can be protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable.
Thank you so much. I think this is a very unfortunate case. I want to borrow from a leaf from Comrade Pratt that we should look at supporting the judge in a way. I can believe that she's under enormous pressure because this is a case of national interest. So she's undergoing pressure to do the right thing. It's so funny that the MPP held a press conference and said they believe the tapes had been doctored, which goes to admit that there must be an original, and it's the original that has been doctored. So in light of that, what Honorable Segbefia said is very necessary here, that there's a need to do an investigation to see if it's a genuine tape, where it was doctored, and bring out those facts. And as for Honorable Odami relying on God, it's a very interesting thing. I think he learned it from his appointor, the president. All of them use the name of God in vain. So you've done the thing. I think the best thing you should do as a godly person is to admit it, seek refuge in God to forgive you, withdraw the case, and let Ghana's confidence in the judicial system be improved. But saying you won't resign, you're actually casting doubt on cases you have handled before, and making people think that you probably did similar things in those cases. So he really needs to look at this thing in a godly way, which means admitting what he did wrong and just resigning, so that our judicial processes, the confidence in it will be restored. But as it is now, saying that you won't resign, it's the judge has advised you, said recluse yourself. Just do the right thing. I agree with the lawyer here, dear Odami, do the right thing and resign, so that the process can go on. It's like the call for Ken Ofori-Atta to resign to help the image of the party was so long and it was refused. It's the same thing that is happening here right now. This man has to do the honest and honorable thing and resign. I think that's the best thing he has to do. In the name of God, he's calling. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well, this is Lady Chief Justice Efia Sawa Asariboche, taken from her decision on this issue, on the matter of the tape. Says, I am of the considered view that it will be prudent that Attorney General be strongly advised to not be directly or personally involved in the further prosecution of this case. This is not in any way, shape, or form making a value judgment on whether the Attorney General was right or wrong in holding a conversation bordering on what was a live case in court with an accused person he was personally prosecuting. But I am of the respectful view that this, recusing himself, is one way of ensuring that the judicial process is protected and to gain public confidence, such that it may not be the perception that cases can be dealt with in any other place than in the courtroom. Comrade.
Well, first of all, a new level of foolishness, extreme foolishness, is creeping into the public space. And I think we should all be worried. When issues are raised, issues about principle, issues about commitment to law and so on, our public officials recite a few verses from the Bible, sing a few hymns, and they think that that solves the matter. This level of foolishness is unprecedented, and we should not encourage it. Why? These public officials derive the source of their power and so from a constitution which is secular to all intents and purposes. A constitution which recognizes the right of people not to believe in God. A constitution which puts the Christian, the Muslim, the Hindu, the Baha'i, the atheists and so on at the same level. Yes. And yet you've been gripped by this stupidity, stupendous stupidity of reciting Bible verses and singing hymns. Unbelievable. Is this how we are building Ghana? Is this what Sergeant Ajete died for? This stupidity? I can't believe it. So what happens to the atheists in our country? By these practices, we are condemning the atheists. We are denying them of their rights, enshrined in the same 1992 Constitution. By this practice, we are not respecting the rights of Hindus. You find out who wrote them. Some of them were written by slave traders. They were written by crooks, by people who will surely end up in hell, if there is a hell. I'm not sure. Those who wrote those Christian verses and so on, a lot of them, if there is hell, will end up there. They shouldn't waste our time. I feel I have a sense of revulsion. You want to recite verses and sing. God just says that in this particular case, you should take yourself out in order not to destroy the credibility of the judicial process and the process of prosecution by extension of logic. Not just logic, by extension of logic and by interpretation. She's asking him to resign. Clear. I have no doubt at all. Because if you have an attorney general who cannot prosecute any case, even if it's just one, it means that you can...
Faye and Prime Minister Sonko, they released 9 days later, they won the elections. Prime Minister Modi did the same and lost his majority and is relying on allies. Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa employed the same tactics to intimidate Jacob Zuma by jailing him, and today the indefatigable ANC could only manage 40.1% after the elections, with Zuma's ANC breakaway party getting 14.8%. Ramaphosa is struggling to form a government of national unity. President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia must know that regardless of how severe the intimidation and harassment of the opposition is, the NDC will still win the elections. Nothing, not even the Ghana Police and National Security, can stop it. I believe the NIB survey has told them that. Sadie, thank you very much for the message. Hardin Pickfarm says President Nana is the only president who has disappointed the past, disappointed the present, and disappointed the future. Surely the Nana Addo and Bawumia government will forever remain the biggest disappointment of the Fourth Republic of our dear nation. History will judge them, and they will go down an election come December 2024, considering the violent pedigree of the NPP. That's coming from Stike, who sent that one. Dr. Akofa Segbefia, SENA, I hear people say Ghana is on autopilot, but I disagree. When an aircraft is on autopilot, it means the plane is in the safe hands of its computers. In Ghana's case, the country is rudderless with no one in control. If the police can take instruction from politicians in the performance of their duties against the laid down policing protocols, where are we headed? We all know our president has already given up on his rule. Sad. Doc, thank you for that message. Idi Gideon Mutari says, good morning, Senator. Truth be told, my heart bleeds for Mother Ghana in its current state and predicament this region, and compare that to this MPP government. That alone, Ghanaians can go ahead to vote against this government because funds were released enormously every year under GM's regime. The opposite is the case under Nane's regime. Those are the comments I'm getting. This Justice Maswala Public for Anyawaso is constituency, because they didn't have their ways to smoothly operate their rigging plans with this vote transfer process. They have decided to divert attention with the detention of our PC using their robots in uniform in doing so. That is Maswal Akpabli. There's also Musa Abatwa, who says it is deeply troubling to witness the politically motivated arrest and detention of Phyllis Nakoyo, while her counterpart, Hawa Kumsum, remains completely when I heard this, because has, even without the O in the Koyo and then what do you call it, L in the Phyllis, they still sound the same. So I'm surprised. So I'm surprised that it's a big issue, but it's a matter that needs to be dealt with. But thank you very much for making time to join us on the show today. A big thank you to our affiliate stations across the country. And I think, let me just a moment and acknowledge them. Shine FM in Akachi on 96.9. We're live on Hills FM in Adaklo on 91.7. Nuance Radio Ketekrachi on 89.7. Stella Radio in Dabala on 97.1, Diamond FM in Tamale on 93.7, Bewa Radio in Yendi on 106.5, Radio Kita on Saboba 95.7, Benya FM Elmina 105.7, Global FM 105.1 in Ho, there's Zeps FM 95.9 in Zebila, True FM 92.5 in Ade, so Lamara FM 89.1 in Tripoli, Boem 88.7 FM in Just Kind, Lukusi 96.1 in Vergolokwati. Time FM is on 19.9, Sekwale 104.3 in Likpe, Todume, Akpini Radio in Kando. Thank you to all of you. And I've also been told to wish a happy birthday to ASO Abe Brown and Asafodukba Nikwe Power of PCG Better Congregation. Thank you all for making time to join us. We are back same time next week in another edition of the show. We're live on TV, Pan-African Television. We are live on social media, same platform, Pan-African Television. We are live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a fruitful week.